Once upon a time, in the bustling village of Obodo, there lived a young man who everyone knew simply as Noddy. Noddy was a cripple, unable to walk without the help of a rickety wooden wheelchair that his faithful companion, Ifeanyi, pushed around for him. Noddy and Ifeanyi were inseparable, always seen together at the village market under the shade of the big iroko tree by the stream. Despite his disability, Noddy was a kind and cheerful man. His soft-spoken nature and bright smile often warmed hearts, but his condition seemed to repel the young women in the village. Every maiden who crossed his path laughed at the thought of marrying a cripple. They mocked him openly, their cruel words cutting deep. Who would marry a man who cannot even stand on his own 2 feet? A cripple. He will only bring shame to his wife. What the villagers didn't know was that Noddy was not the helpless man they thought he was. His life in Obodo was a carefully constructed disguise, a plan he and Ifeanyi had crafted to achieve a single goal: to find true love. Noddy, in reality, was a wealthy man, known far and wide as one of the richest traders in the land. But he had grown tired of women who only chased him for his fortune. Disguising himself as a crippled villager was his last hope of discovering someone who would love him for who he truly was. One fateful day, a young maiden named Adara arrived in Obodo. She was beautiful, kind, and intelligent, having come to stay with her aunt after the passing of her parents. Unlike the other maidens, Adara was known for her humility and compassion. She treated everyone with respect, even those society often overlooked. At the market one afternoon, Adara noticed Noddy struggling to move his wheelchair over a patch of uneven ground. The other maidens giggled as they passed him by, but Adara couldn't ignore the sight. She walked up to him and gently said, "Let me help you." Noddy looked up, surprised. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice hesitant. Ifeanyi, who had been fetching water nearby, returned to find Adara chatting with Noddy as she helped push his wheelchair. He exchanged a knowing glance with Noddy, impressed but cautious. Could she be the one? Over the next few weeks, Adara and Noddy grew close. She often visited him, bringing food and sharing stories of her life. Noddy found himself drawn to her kindness and sincerity, but he couldn't help but wonder if her affection was genuine, or if she was simply pitying him. One day, during a festival, Noddy mustered the courage to ask, "Adara, do you ever think about the kind of man you would like to marry?" She smiled thoughtfully. "I want someone who has a good heart, someone who will respect and care for me. Wealth and status mean nothing if the heart is empty." Her words struck Noddy deeply, but doubt lingered. Was this another trick? As their bond deepened, Ifeanyi suggested they test Adara's intentions. Pretending to overhear a conversation between 2 villagers, Ifeanyi let it slip that Noddy had inherited a small piece of farmland, but had no means to cultivate it due to his condition. To their surprise, Adara offered to help. She borrowed tools from her aunt's household and spent days clearing and planting crops on Noddy's behalf. Her actions touched Noddy and Ifeanyi, but they knew the ultimate truth would still need to be revealed. One day, as Noddy and Adara sat by the stream, he asked her a life-changing question. "Adara, would you marry a man like me?" She paused, searching his eyes. "Yes, Noddy, I would. You have a heart of gold, and that matters more than anything." Before Noddy could respond, laughter erupted nearby. A group of maidens, including some of Adara's cousins, had overheard the conversation. "Adara, are you out of your mind? You want to marry this cripple? Do you want your children to inherit his useless legs?" Adara stood up defiantly. "Noddy is more of a man than any of you could ever dream of having." Noddy knew the time had come. Taking a deep breath, he reached down and removed the cloth covering his legs. Slowly, he stood up. Adara gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. "You can walk," she whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. "Yes," Noddy replied. "Adara, I am not who you think I am. I am not crippled, and I am not poor. He turned to Ifeanyi, who handed him a bag filled with gold coins and documents. I am one of the wealthiest traders in this land. I disguised myself to find someone who would love me for who I am, not for my money. Adaora fell silent, overwhelmed by the revelation. But then she smiled. Your wealth doesn't matter to me, Noddy. I meant what I said. It's your heart that I love. The other maidens, who had laughed and mocked Noddy for years, were left speechless. Their faces burned with shame as they watched the once crippled man stand tall, his true identity revealed. Noddy and Adaora's wedding was the talk of the land. People marveled at the love story that had blossomed against all odds. Noddy and Adaora proved that true love is not about wealth, status, or appearances, but about the connection of two hearts. As for the other maidens, they learned a valuable lesson. Never judge a person by their circumstances, for appearances can be deceiving.